Hello, hello, my lovely Shift Gear listeners. Welcome back to we eclipsed the 20 mark. We're at 21 now, episode 21. We're in like top 0.1% of podcasters now. Like most people have quit like a long time ago. And like to be honest, we should quit right now.
Should we?
Just stop while we're ahead.
Are we
Screw
ahead
it,
though?
let's quit. No, we're not ahead. We haven't made any ground since day one. Welcome back, y'all. Appreciate y'all being here today. We have some cool stuff that happened on the weekend, Champions League wise. A lot of new cards. Our first like major post rotation tournament that surprised I think literally everybody. And if you logged into your YouTube in the past 3 days, like all you've seen is like big YouTubers like clickbaiting like this deck won what? And so you've probably seen what happened already because you've been clickbaited just like me. But yeah, some weird stuff happened. Some very interesting Lugia stuff and some very interesting Arceus stuff. So we'll get into that at some point. First of all, how was your week, Ciaran? What's going on?
Let's see. How was my week? It was a 4 day long weekend for me. My company gave us Friday off, so very
Nice.
very relaxing. Lots of hanging out. I started playing Pal World. I don't know if you played that game.
Yeah, every time I log into Discord, it says Kieran's playing Pal World.
Yeah, so I was playing that. My friends and I made a server. It's like Legends Arceus, but like better with like more survival aspects. And like all the pals are definitely like Pokemon knockoffs, but the game's fun. So I don't know how much longer I'll
And
play it.
guns?
And guns, yes, Pokemon with guns, as they say.
It's interesting. Well, they I saw a stat that like 2/3 of their entire player base fell off within like the first 2 weeks. So I don't know how long it's gonna be up there.
Well, I mean, it's like one of those games where it's like once you're done, you're kind of done. Like it's not like a
Mm.
you play forever type game. So like yeah, I'm almost nearing that point. But it was fun, decent game. If you like Pokemon, you'll probably like it. So
I might have to pick it up.
yeah,
There's a new Pokemon Presents coming out in a couple days. I
saw
don't know if you
that.
saw
Yeah,
that.
next Tuesday.
What do you think is gonna come out of this?
I think I saw that they leaked that they're like making Gen 5 remakes, but they're gonna make them like Brilliant Diamond and Pearl. So like I think people are gonna be disappointed. Um, I don't know. Like they'll probably release like some spin-off game or something, and then maybe put some of the Pokemon games on Virtual Console. Like or like the people are saying
Yeah,
they might
like
do Legends like Legends Johto or something. That'd be cool.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Legends games. Like I'd be
Yeah.
so happy for that. But what we're probably gonna get is like Pokemon like barista or something, where we're like at a Starbucks working as a Squirtle, handing out coffees or something. That's probably what we're gonna get. Um, my expectations are on the floor.
Yeah.
We didn't. Well, we didn't have a game last winter, did we? Like in November.
Uh, there was like Detective Pikachu 2, bro. How could you forget? Big
Right,
release.
right. Yeah, yeah. So we're due. We're due. We're so due. Hopefully something good comes out of that because, like, I don't know. I haven't been playing Pokemon recently at all. Like in terms of the games, it's just been kind of boring. So
No, I play like every once in a while. Like I have an emulator on my phone, so I play. I either play Emerald's my go-to, or like I download like these like ROMs that like custom games people made. Those are always fun.
and some of those are really hard
They
too.
are really hard, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, no, I mean we'll talk about that next week, I guess, when it comes out. But for
Yeah,
now, we can talk about how do I pronounce this? Fukuoka.
yeah. I think Fukuoka,
All right,
the
I did my
Champions
best.
League.
My best foreigner impression. So yeah, like this was this was not what we expected to say the least. I think we expected some of the decks in the top 16 to be in the top 16, but I don't think we expected like it to unfold the way it unfolded. Lots of interesting stuff here. Did you want to like give your initial thoughts on that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's always interesting, like brand new format, because people like don't really know what to do. Like I think especially in Japan, it's like they have all those like city leagues or whatever. It seemed very chaotic to me. Like there was no
Mm.
consensus on what the meta was like since they didn't have a big tournament yet. Um, but it seems like a lot of different decks were well represented. So it does seem like we're in store for a meta similar to this one, where there's gonna be lots of viable decks, which I think in general people are gonna enjoy, just since like there should be something for everyone. But yeah, like Lugia won, and like I'm not super surprised. I've actually tested a little bit of new format, and like Lugia was doing really well in my testing. Like Chinchino's like just such a strong one prize attacker. I mean, having the option to one shot everything on a one prizer is nice. Yeah, the only surprises were to me is Chen Pao didn't make top 16, Golden Go didn't make top 16, and that was the second and third most popular decks in the City League. So I don't know if they weren't played or they just didn't convert well, but that's probably the biggest surprises for me looking at the results here.
Yeah, and like my one beef with this is that like we always only get top 16
Yeah,
results, which I know it's hard to compile more than that, but this is like sometimes it skews your information so much. I remember like going into was it the LAIC meta? Like we had like 3 tournaments of just top 16. It just did not give us the right ideas of what was actually good and what wasn't. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, like generally, like when you're taking data from a 2,655 player tournament, like you can normally trust that the data's pretty good. So, yeah, we had a couple Charizards, a couple Artinas, things we expected to see. I haven't touched post rotation at all, and I'm not planning on it either. So I have not discovered the power of Lugia yet or Stall, but there's 3 stalls in there, and Lugia obviously won the tournament, so it's got to be pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
just from looking at these lists, like you said, Chinchino looks ridiculous. That card looks insane. And like most of the time, when you see like if I were to see on the basis without knowing what Chinchino did, I would look at Lugia and see a 3-3 line of Chinchino and be like, this is lols. What the hell is this, bro? But it's actually quite good. And the fact that they just took like a pile deck already and added a 3-3 line and still won a tournament kind of goes to show how powerful this card probably is.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they even played Master Ball, which is funny. So, yeah, some of the things in the list, I don't know if I 100% agree with. Like, they won, obviously, so it must be good. But, like, to me, Jacques has been very underwhelming to me because it's like,
Mm.
you have to Luminion for it. And to Luminion, you normally have to, like, either Ultra Ball or Capture Agroma. Then you need, like, another Ultra Ball to use it effectively. They also didn't play Squawkabilly, which seems very good. Um, but I mean, like, yeah, like, Chinchino is just so strong. It trades up. Like, you trade into Charizard, you trade into Giratina, trade into Arceus. And also, like, the format now, like, from what I was, like, watching, is, like, your Lugias are, like, less threatened to get knocked out right away. So, like, if you, like, have to read the wind or, like, you can't Summoning Star turn 2, like, it's not the end of the world anymore. Like, Charizard can't one-shot you, for example. Arceus can't one-shot you, for example. The future decks, like, they need to, like, set up first, so... it does seem like the meta is shifting to be decent for Lugia here. I don't know, my gut still tells me the deck's inconsistent, and I've played it. Like, it still is inconsistent, but, like, the raw power of the deck is so high. So I think it'll definitely be a contender. Like, at minimum, a tier 2 deck in the format.
Yeah, I think so too. And then I mean, like the one surprise for me, like when I was looking at this, the one surprise for me was the fact that there's 2 lost boxes and a Tina lost box. And upon looking at it, it makes a lot more sense because, like, to be honest, I wasn't really like too invested on the new cards that were coming out, but it's just seeing that like escape board like card,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that thing is, emergency board. That like the synergy with Comfy alone is honestly enough to just kind of propel it in the right direction. Then you add Prime Catcher to Tina, or you add like the Battle VIP pass that can be played at any time. I think it's called Friendship Poffin.
Yeah.
You add those things all together, and then like I can kind of understand why this deck is still good. The one card I've seen prominently through all these lists that I'm really intrigued by is Iron Leaves, the Virizion thing, and it looks good, man. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, if we just looked at, like, all the results from the city leagues, like, in Japan, like, it seemed like Charizard was, like, by far the most popular and, like, best deck on paper. So it just seems like every deck
Yeah.
needs to have some sort of answer. And yeah, when I was watching the stream, it seemed like almost every deck that can't one-shot on its own was playing the Iron Leaves. Like, any Arceus deck was playing Iron Leaves. Giratina, you obviously play Grass. So, I mean, Lost Zone as a deck is just flexible, right? Like, you have the gate, so you can play, like, any type of Pokemon. So I'm not surprised that the Lost Box decks are finding success here.
Yeah, and the one card that was also really interesting to me was Airy, the
Yeah.
look at your opponent's hand, discard 2 cards, like the discard 2 items. Sorry, that seems really strong, and like I see like random decks like spicing this in now at this point, so
Yeah.
I can see that card being pretty good. Using your supporter to disrupt is not always like ideal, but I think with how powerful that card is, you can kind of just use your supporter to buy yourself another turn, especially if your opponent's like kind of heavily reliant on whatever's in their hand there. So
Yeah.
that card seems good. Iron Leaf seems good. Stall seems like scary good.
Yeah, I mean,
That's gonna be a problem.
I think I'll start with Airy, then we can talk about Stall after. But Airy's
Yeah,
interesting
sure.
to me because, like, yeah, kind of what you're pointing out is like, I don't know, like a lot of decks, like they rely a lot on like certain cards. Like for imagine against Lost Box, you just like randomly snipe like a Mirage Gate, or against like Chen Pal, like you snipe their like like a Super Retrieval and like the Prime Catcher or something. It's like you do need to have a deck where like you don't need a supporter every turn. But like I mean, we're seeing decks like Charizard, like you get Bibroll, like you don't need a supporter every turn. Like Arceus, sometimes you don't need a supporter every turn. So I don't. It kind of seems powerful to me that like it almost like reads like a 20% chance to almost like win the game on the spot. Like if you snipe something good out of your opponent's hand.
Hmm.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it becomes like a splashable supporter in a lot of these decks that can afford to take time off. You have to find it, which is a bit annoying. Like it's you can't really play it in the flow of the game like properly. So you almost like need something like a Pidgeot or like RCS or something to get it. But it's interesting. But yeah, moving on to Snorlax, it's like yeah, I think I've been discussing this with some people. Like Snorlax just seems like the best deck to me. Like its matchup spread like seems insane. And it's interesting too that like Japan plays 25 minutes best of one, and like if you tie, it's double game loss, and three still made top 16. So
That's crazy.
I'm under the impression that the culture in Japan is if you like face a Snorlax stall and like you don't have an out anymore, like you're supposed to scoop. I think that's how they win. I played against the Japanese Snorlax player at LAIC, and like anytime he thought that he had the game won, he would basically like infer that he wants me to scoop to him. So I think that's kind of like how it goes. So I think that makes sense. But yeah, like in our format, like 50 minutes, like Snorlax has no problem with that. So it just seems kind of scary, yeah, because it's like most decks don't have an answer. Like you add Airy to the deck. They have to play like Mantine if they want to Echoing Horn now, but like I don't know.
That definitely doesn't seem good.
It doesn't
but
seem the best,
it is
but-
necessary.
Yeah, I don't know, just Airy and Misfortune Sisters just seem so good because historically, like playing as Snorlax, like the way you win is like you hold on to your resources until the perfect time, and it's like you can't just sit on your cards anymore. Like they're just gonna Airy you, and then it's like if you don't have the cards yet to play, like they're just gonna Misfortune Sisters you. So now it just seems like you can't just sit there and like accumulate resources. Like the only counter like in my head seems to be to start playing Minior. So I would not be surprised to see Snorlax like completely dominate EUIC if people don't tech for it.
Yeah, like right off my head, like sorry, off the top of my head, I think about like playing Gardevoir against Snorlax, and like one of the main things that I would always do as a Gardevoir player is keep Ultra Ball Super Rod in my hand at all times. Just you draw a Manaphy, you draw Jirachi, whatever. You don't have to fill your balance. You can just vibe and kill these things, but you can't even do that anymore. Your hand's not safe. Your deck's not safe. Your discard pile is more safe. And like I wouldn't be surprised if people start just ditching everything in the discard and saying, "Hey, Mantine me, I'll just collapse it and back away." But I don't know, man. You're right. Like it seems scary strong, and I'm not excited about it. But I think a lot of people might start like pivoting to Tina or pivoting to something that can beat it if it becomes like S tier. So we'll see what happens there. Weird side note: I was looking at this Limitless page for the Fukuoka tournament, and the fifth guy, his last name is IMAO, and I thought it said LMAO, so I started like dying at like a random time. I thought his last name was LMAO. But that was like my main takeaway from this landing page. If that was his last name, I would have flown out to get an autograph. Other than that, though, the two lists that I wanted to see the most are the two lists that are not there: the Future Box and the Ancient Box. So.
Yeah.
So you just gotta wait on those, but those also seem really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Ancient Box. I think I watched one. I was watching the Gazul stream. I think there was one playing the round. Like, it's interesting. Like, it has a very strong early game, just because against like evolution decks, like you're just taking everything out. It doesn't scale the best, but like you are a one prize deck. So as soon as you take like a prize lead, like if you have to start trading like two attacks to like kill two prizer, like into a Charizard, for example, like it's not the end of the world. And late game, you can get to enough numbers where you can knock out like the basic Vs and EXs that have like 220, 230. So the deck does seem like pretty consistent. And one of them was even playing like Great Tusk like in their Future Box or Ancient Box deck. So like you kind of have like a little pivot if you have to pivot your strategy or catch people off guard. So yeah, the deck seems very solid. It's a one prize deck, which I think is fun. I haven't explored it enough. Like I haven't tried it yet. I've tried playing like Roaring Moon, like EX with like Roaring Moon Baby, and that it's been decent for me so far. So I can see why it's good. Yeah, what do you think about this deck?
Yeah, it looks cool. Like the one thing that stands out to me is that like normally you have these new archetypes and like they're super hyped or whatever, but like they don't initially always make a splash. Just seeing that in this top 16, there's an Ancient Box and a Future Box in the top 16 of a 2,700 person tournament is actually like really encouraging to me. And I think that there's a lot of like you said, there's gonna be a lot of space for diversity in this format, which is cool. Like that, I think that's what we all want.
Yep.
A lot of space for diversity. Kind of another one of those like pick your deck, run with it kind of formats. The one thing that does stick out to me on the surface, which I'm a little bit disappointed about, but it does seem that the decks are fundamentally a little bit less skilled than they are right now. The one thing that I really like right now is that the decks that are like good are the highly skilled decks. So like it feels like the better player normally does win. Whereas like in formats past, like maybe in the last like couple of years, like with Palkia, with Lugia, it didn't always feel that way, and that's frustrating a lot of the time for some people. And but you know what? Like the counterpoint to that is that a lot of new players just will enjoy the game more in those kinds of formats, right? Where you walk in, you can play Lugia, you can play Palkia, and do well immediately. So I think there's probably arguments for both. This format here doesn't look skillless by any means. Definitely, there's still an aspect of skill, but it's not like your Gardevoir versus Tina versus Snorlax Doll or whatever we have now, where it's like it feels like a lot of the good players are consistently doing well. So a little bit of a culture shift, I think.
Yeah, it seems like the decks are less intricate, I guess, is basically what you're getting at. So, and like maybe the
Yeah.
matchups are less intricate. But I mean, the format still has to evolve, so we'll see. But
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
yeah. Yeah, some other things I noticed here, like a great Tuskmill made top 16. I think that was a deck that I was kind of excited to see how it was going to do. So yeah, that's kind of cool that we might have a mill deck. Actually, that's not really cool. People hate playing against mill. I think everyone does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, just I looked at the list. Like it's pretty simple. Like it literally just focuses on like trying to tank hits and just making sure you get 4 off every turn. Like it had like 4 Pokegear. They had like double Palpad. They played 4 Sada, 4 of the Explorer card. So that was interesting to me. And then second place was like an Arceus Alolan Vulpix deck. So there's actually a lot of Arceus. So it seems like Arceus might have a little resurgence in this format. Arc Giratina seems to be a very popular deck. We had 2 of those in top 16. I saw a lot of players playing that. And then, yeah, the Vulpix was interesting to me. I guess it's decently well positioned. Like into Charizard, for example, they don't really have a good attacker. I think mainly Charizard's the main matchup, but I guess there's some other cases.
I think so too.
I guess against
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I
Chen
was like, what does Vulpix really stop? But it definitely stops Charizard, and I think that was what was on people's mind going into this tournament.
Yeah, it stops Chen Pao too. Like the only thing they can attack with is Iron Hands. I mean, they still two-shot you because Iron Hands is just 120 twice. No, but it's interesting. Like it's nice to see that like anti-meta decks can still do well if you can kind of predict what's going to happen. I wish there was like Pokestats where we could see what these people were playing against.
Yeah.
Also, I think I read like that they can switch their decks like day 1 to day 2 in this tournament too. So people might have been playing different stuff day 1.
Really? I thought that was just in Korea. I didn't know it was here too.
Wait. Champion. I just looked at Ethan Hegster's Twitter. He said players can change their decks from day 1 to day 2.
I trust it.
Yeah. So.
Interesting. Yeah, that probably like. I feel like there's very rare situations where you walk into a tournament, do well on day 1, and be like, all right, scrap this idea. I'm going to play something else. But I'm sure some people definitely did change.
Yeah, exactly. So I wish we had more data, like what converted day 1 and all that. But these definitely seem to be the decks that the Japanese players think are strong so far. And like we always say, like you have to take this with a grain of salt. I remember last year when we switched over to rotation, like the Japanese were saying like Giratina was like tier 0, like nothing came close, and then like the West we played, like Giratina was like not really a deck. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how EUIC shakes out. I think you have a lot of players who are just practicing for that because we only have really one North American regional left, Vancouver. I think people know what they're going to play, so I think everyone's focusing on EUIC. So EUIC should be a really fun tournament. I think there's going to be tons of creativity, tons of different decks. And we'll have
it's gonna be really neat.
Yeah, we'll have limitless like online tournaments too. Like those are always interesting to me too, the online tournaments, to see what comes out of those, because those kind of like shape the meta a little bit at the start too.
Yeah, I mean that's how I decided on my LASC deck. Like a lot of people take a lot of inspiration from those things, and I think, I mean, like we were like super even going into LASC, we're like, hey, Moon is pretty good, and then we looked at limitless data, and it taught us that Moon is not really that good. So I think people learn a lot from like their initial assumptions, like you said. Like sometimes the Japanese say, "Hey, this is tier 0," and it just does not translate. So
Yeah.
that is the age we're in. Limitless tourneys are very helpful.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is like people don't know how to build decks at the beginning of formats, right? Like for example, to Roaring Moon, it's like we're like, okay, this deck kind of sucks. And then like Ross like kind of refined like the deck, and like now it's literally like the second, third most popular deck. It's like making top cuts, all that. So also like decks builds change when the metas are more developed. It's much easier to build your deck when into a developed meta, since you know what you have to account for. Like even take Chanpao for example, right? Like it wasn't really that popular of a deck, and then like it got refined, and then like it became a popular deck. So tons of decks are like that. So we might see, like, for example, like a deck that's not here at the Japan Championship, a deck might like flop EUIC, and then it eventually becomes like a tier 1 or even like tier 2 deck. So
that's also a byproduct of having a 5-month meta too, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like it's just you have so much time for refinement. Like the meta becomes so well defined. Like it's very easy to predict what's going to be there. But yeah, like unknown metas are always interesting because if you're a strong deck builder, like this is like when you're at your strongest, when people don't really know what they're doing, decks haven't been figured out. So if you put in the time, like early on in the format, like you have a lot of chance for success.
Absolutely. Like you said, like I wish we had a bit more data to work off of. We're just gonna have to wait and kind of see how this whole thing unfolds. But definitely interesting, like first couple of exposures to the new formats. Definitely not what I expected, but definitely cool. All right, so let's talk. You want to hop into some trivia here?
Sure, let's do some trivia before we talk about the new cards.
Yeah, let's do some trivia. People seem to love trivia, so we gotta keep this a recurring segment. I'm just running out of questions, so I use Google today. So all the Ultra Beasts other than Naganadel have a unique feature to them.
Okay.
What is this feature?
A unique feature?
Like there's something about them that is unique, like not like unique to only them, but is unique to them as a collective. Like all of these Pokemon have one thing about them that is really, really weird.
Like them as Pokemon, or just related to the card game?
No, it has nothing to do with the cards.
Okay,
It's
okay.
more it's in game,
Okay.
like in video game.
Like is this something physical?
This is a hard one,
Is
bro.
this something
This is a
physical
hard
about
one.
them?
No, it is not physical.
Nothing. Oh my god. Okay, so let me think about the Ultra Beasts. You got like Celesteela, you have Buzzwole, you have
I'll give you some.
Nihilego.
Buzzwole, Celesteela, yeah, Nihilego, Pheromosa,
Formosa.
Blacephalon, and Stakataka. There's something about them in game that is unique.
In game.
All of them
Man.
in game.
This is out of my
All of,
knowledge domain. I've played Sun and Moon.
this isn't something that you would like play in game and realize. Like this is something that you like when the Pokemon were coming out, someone would have pointed out like, "Hey, these Pokemon all have this." And then it was like a big thing when they all came out.
Like, is this something to do with like their Pokédex entries or something?
Something to do with their stats,
Their stats?
specifically their stats.
Do their like? Oh, I feel like I might have seen something like this before. Is it like their stat totals? Like when you add them all up, are unique?
Not stat totals.
Is it they
It's
have
individual stats.
Okay, so they have one stat like Buzzwole's attack will be like the only person with like 81 attack or something.
Not quite. I'll tell you what it is because I feel like it's quite difficult.
Okay.
Unless you want to keep guessing, you can keep guessing
Okay,
if you
wait,
want. But
so
I feel
something
like
to do with stats.
not to do with their stat totals, just their individual stats.
Stats. They. Every stat's
It's like a
different.
fun fact. Probably, but that's not the one I'm thinking
All right,
of.
I'm not gonna get this.
Okay, so all the Ultra Beasts other than the Ganadel, every single one of their stats is a prime number.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How am I
This is what-
supposed to get that?
No, that I remember seeing that though. Like that came when it came out, everyone was like, "Wait, what the hell is wrong with this?" And that was like a qualifying trait of the Ultra Beasts. That one was hard, but you know what? You're doing this to me because you just know too much about Pokemon. It's not my fault.
Fair.
Okay, I have another one. So, actually, no. You know what? I'll save this one for next week. 'Cause
Okay.
This one's like kind of like even more in left field. So, I'll save this one.
Nice. All right. Good
But
question.
basically, it was I'll find you a better one. But basically, it was about Minior and Golurk. I'll give it
Okay.
away. Minior has a higher base stat than Golurk. Or higher base stats. Sorry,
Like total?
total.
Well, Minior is what? It's like a defense Pokemon?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, I guess what Golurk probably has like low speed or something. Like,
I'm pretty sure it's like really slow.
yeah. Yeah, I'm
I
not.
don't know. Anyways,
Yeah, I'm not gonna be that good. If it's hard video game things, I won't be able to do it.
well, that's exactly why I have to ask you them because all the card ones you got too fast.
You gotta come up with more unique card ones then.
Yeah, I guess so. I'll come up with something like crazy for next week that you won't get. That'll be my goal.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Aneil though. The new cards that got revealed. I think there's actually some like very powerful cards that got shown off. So, have you had a chance to look at them yet?
I did. I did. I got a chance to look at a few of them. I mean, I don't know how to phrase this, but like it feels like we're back in like the tag team era where Pokemon just like got bored and they're like, all right, screw it. Let's just make everything OP and just see what happens.
Yeah, it does seem
That's kind of what this is.
like there's some. Well, the items are very. We'll talk about the A spec, the reset stamp or whatever, like at the end. But it does feel like they're going back to giving the items like absurd power levels, which I don't think is good game design. And I'll talk about that later. But we can start with maybe like the Pokemon. Like I think Blood Moon Ursaluna is probably the best one they revealed. The EX. It's basically Radiant Charizard, and like any deck can use it, right? So it's 5 colorless, 240 damage as an attack, but its ability is for each prize card your opponent's taken, it costs 1 less. So yeah, I think this is actually really good. Like it gives a lot of decks like a cheap, efficient attacker. Immediately, this seems like it actually could be good in control. Like we've seen control play Radiant Charizard now to take out threats. You could play this now if you want to take out, if they try and do a strat where they just have one Pokemon. So yeah, this is just very splashable. Like I feel like this card's going to see tons of play. What do you think?
Yeah, it reminds me of Articuno GX too, where like you just use it just to destroy something one time and just get it over with. So in control makes a lot of sense. I think this card is good. I really do think this card is good. I think like you said, it's so splashable, it's so versatile that like eventually someone's gonna need a card like this and someone's gonna play it, and then everyone's gonna kind of realize how good it is. 240 is like it's not a weird number, but it's definitely a number we don't see often. So you're gonna one shot your Iron Leaves, you're gonna one shot your Fish, obviously, your Squawks, whatever, like all those support Pokemon. But I don't know if 240 is really gonna splash too much in the format. Like 250 was cool because with the belt you one hit KO V stars, but 240, I don't know. Maybe you play a max belt or something like the A spec, but I definitely think it's gonna be good. I don't know what decks it goes off the top of my head. Maybe like Arctina. It seems pretty good in Arctina, just because they kind of run out of steam at the end sometimes. But it can also be a control counter in a sense. Like
Yeah.
after all of your resources are gone, like maybe you just bring this thing to the active and use it. Do I
Well,
think it's the best? Probably not.
Against
But
control, I don't think they're taking prizes.
oh yeah, you're right. You can't even do that late game. You're right. You're right. Yeah, so it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
I guess Iron Leaves is a better one against control
Yeah.
because you have like Scramble Switch built in.
Yeah, I think the design that they're going for is this is supposed to one shot the like basic EXs, but this thing has 260 HP on a basic, so it actually doesn't even one shot itself. So, I feel like we'll probably eventually get like a choice band reprint for EXs, and then it'll be better. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, we have like Defiance Band plus Vitality Band plus
Yeah.
Max Belt. Like, there's a lot of stuff already. So I agree with you. We probably will get one eventually, but right now I think they feel like it's kind of covered.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they don't reprint Choice Band. I actually really dislike it as a design card because like it's always like enabling one hit KOs, and like my biggest gripe with Pokemon is one hit KOs. So I'm fine with
Yeah.
Defiance Band as our plus 30.
Hey, you're gonna love this new format. This grindy 200 to each other every turn.
I think that's fine. Like longer, drawn out games are better. Like where you have to make more decisions per match. There's more skill expression, more chances to mess up. I think it's more fun instead of us just going knockout, 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 knockout like every single turn.
Yeah, I just hope we don't end up in like back in a format with like Arc Intel mirrors, where it's just like actual just garbage all the time.
But that was different because Inteleon just made it so like you don't whiff anything. Like the games are the same every game. You have access to your deck. I mean, because like
It was boring.
One of the most like people's most favorite like recent formats was like the Sun and Moon format, and like that was a format where it was actually very difficult to one shot things. Lots of back and forth. Like Acerola was a card. Like Max Potion was a card. And I thought it was really fun. Like the games were very. It wasn't that they were long. It was just like they're intricate. Like there was you had to plan out turns, like spread your damage. So I generally enjoy when the game is like that instead of just going back and forth.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, cool. The next card I want to talk about. When I saw Screamtail EX, I'm like, okay, maybe Gardevoir is going to get a nice tool, but I think this card sucks. Do you think it has any redeeming qualities?
I don't. Is that the one that where if you go second, you don't get supporters? Your opponent doesn't
Yeah,
get
so
supporters?
its attack is like if you can only use it if you go second for 1 energy. It's colorless. Like your opponent can't play supporters next turn. So I guess the
I
idea
don't
is
think it's good
you
enough.
slow them down. Yeah, I mean the problem is like let's say you play this in a Gardevoir deck. Like how am I getting this active turn one if I don't start with it? And then if I'm playing it in another deck, like maybe if you have a setup deck, like you need to slow down your opponent, like you don't want them to take a knockout turn 2 or something, this could be relevant. But I don't know, it just
I don't
seems
know.
too cute to me.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going first, like half my games, like this is useless. Like
you're gonna be forced to play like Switch Cart and Gardevoir to use this. Like
Yeah.
it's probably not worth it.
Yeah.
There's maybe a niche that can work with it at some point, but I don't know. Maybe not right now.
Yeah, like I think if this card ever sees play, it's probably going to be actually not in Gardevoir. So,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. All right, next card. This one I actually think will see play, the Iron Thorns EX. So its ability is if it's in the active spot, Pokemon with rule boxes don't have abilities except for future Pokemon. So it's Path to the Peak for the future box deck. Its attack is 3 energy 140, which obviously isn't very good, but you have like the Iron Crown to like do plus 20. So Neil, how good does this card seem to you?
Definitely seems better now that Escape Rope is rotating. If Escape Rope was in format, I don't think I would like it at all. But it definitely seems okay. Like I don't know what the application is in terms of like, do you center your whole deck around it? Is it just like kind of a tech card? Like what is it exactly? Like I think it kind of needs to like find its identity a little bit. But once it finds its identity, I think it could be really powerful. Like especially with the absence of like a Path to the Peak, like you said, like there's a lot of room I think now for like a card like that just to come in and shut down entire decks that just are not prepared for that anymore. So, I mean, you look at like Lugia, you look at some of these other decks like, that are very reliant on abilities. If you're able to take out their one threat and just mitigate all their abilities at in one shot, you're looking pretty good. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. A lot of these cards, like we said, like a lot of these cards are like with a grain of salt kind of thing. Like we don't know how they're gonna really impact what's going on. Like we don't know where they're gonna go, but there's a lot of creative minds out there that might make some applications for some of these. So I think this was definitely one of those cards.
Yeah, I think this one will 100% see play. We already saw like one future box make top 16. Like this seems like even if you only play as a one-off, like an easy slot in. If you lead with it, like it's a bit hard because you need to use Miraidon to energy accelerate. But even like in the middle of the game, right? Like let's say you're playing as Charizard and you like lead with this to take out like the Charmanders, the Pidgeys, or Bidoof, whatever. It's like you actually shut off like Charizard's ability when it evolves. Late in the game, like if you need to like Roxanne, like take a knockout, or Iono, like this seems pretty good if you can take a knockout with it. So I'm sure this will see play. I don't know how much, but it just seems too good not to see play.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you go first with Future Box, like you can just put this active.
True.
Like
It's like better Klefki.
yeah, like it just like blocks stuff. So like yeah, imagine how good this thing is like if you start with it and you're going second against like your opponent. They need like Squawk or something. So yeah, it seems pretty good to me.
The other thing is too, like I think it checks off the box that Klefki does not, in the sense that it just does damage.
Yeah,
like,
that's the big thing.
Klefki was was a good card. Like everyone thought Klefki was gonna be good, but then we realized it did like 10 damage a turn. We're like, okay, this is not doing anything.
A little joust.
Joust.
Yeah, so maybe you could play Alakazam EX with this.
Hey, you know what? It sounds pretty good actually. Wait, doesn't it? It's your opponent's Pokemon don't have abilities, or yours,
It's
or
like
everything in play.
everything in play, but Alakazam's an attack, not ability, so you can still do it.
Yeah, no. I'm just thinking like support wise. Like you probably want to
No.
run Beebs or something because your deck's just a pile.
Oh, it only tries to have Roblox Pokemon, so it still does.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
I mean,
Seems
it's still
alright.
probably not good, but like it's another option for that like tier 4 deck.
There's gonna be a lot of room for like the Bennett EXs and the Alakazam EXs of the world, I think, after rotation. So
Yeah.
I am excited to see
That would
that.
be cool. Cool. I don't think there's any more Pokemon, so we can move on to the trainers. So we got Enhanced Hammer reprinted. That card's always seen play whenever it's been legal. It does seem though like the current format, like from what I'm seeing, there's not a lot of special energy decks. And the decks that like do play special energy, like I don't know how much like getting rid of it like matters. Because I think traditionally when Enhanced Hammer was a strong card, like most of the decks like didn't have as much energy acceleration. Like attaching like was very important. Like attaching like double colorless return example was like a big deal. So like if you got rid of it, like you basically wiped out their energy attachment for the turn. But like now it just seems like most decks just have acceleration. Like against Lugia, it's like they have the energy on board. It's like they can just get more, or you can just knock them out. I guess maybe if Mist Energy gets popular and you play Giratina or you play Roaring Moon, like you can get rid of it. That might be a good application, but I don't know how strong.
You know what's
Enhanced Hammer would
disgusting
be.
though?
What is?
Like imagine you go second into Arceus and you Irida for a hammer on turn
is
one.
true,
Like that's
actually.
game changing, right? Like that concept to me is like enough to warrant playing two hammers immediately. That just seems really, really good. The moment that card got reprinted, you saw all the people like flocking to like TCG Player and stuff to buy the gold ones. I checked all the Toronto stores; they were gone instantly. So I think there's gonna be a lot of people with gold hammers running around trying to use them. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a popular card.
Yeah, I mean the card's always seen play whenever it's been legal, and it's like I think it's a
Yeah,
fine card. Keeps things in check, so I'm fine to see that card back.
it's just better than Fan of Waves, right?
Yeah,
So it's
100%.
all good.
Yeah, and that card like almost never saw play.
Hmm.
Next up we have Perrin. I don't know. I haven't played the DLC, but I think she's in the DLC. So it's reveal up to 2 Pokemon from your hand, shuffle them in your deck, then search your deck for up to that many Pokemon. So it's basically Pokemon communication as a supporter.
Times
and
two.
times 2 if you want it to be. It seems a little bit underpowered to me. Like you have to have Pokemon in your hand, right? And normally, like if you have Pokemon in your hand, you want to play them. So like the decks that normally play cards like these are decks that play tons of Pokemon. So like something like Charizard might be able to play this, but I feel like I would just rather play Jacques at that point. Or I'd rather just play Arvin to get like the Pokepuff or whatever it's called, the one that gets 270 HPs. I could see this seeing play, but my initial reaction is this is too underpowered. What do you think?
I also agree that I think Jacques is just better. Like I can't really think of a situation where you have like you desire an evolution and a basic at the same time. Like it doesn't really make sense. And
Yeah,
like if you're playing Charizard, like you can just Jacques for your evolutions and Pidgeot for your basic anyways if you really need it. So I think I agree with you. Like there's not a whole lot coming out of that card. Maybe like there'll be some like niche application for it, but nothing too crazy.
yeah, exactly. Okay, next we have Budget Champions Festival at the Community Center. Once
Yes.
during each player's turn, if that player's already played a supporter, they may heal 10 damage from each of their Pokemon. This seems horrible to me. I don't know about you.
Bad.
Bad. Next, I think there's
Go next.
another one. Well, actually, this goes hand in hand with the Community Center. So we have Caretaker. Draw 2 cards, Aneil. Not even draw 3.
Okay.
Draw 2 cards. But if the Community
Nice.
Center is in play, shuffle Caretaker back into your deck. Is this the worst combo in like the history of the game?
Burn it. Burn it all. Just get rid of it.
Like,
Maybe in like pre-releases.
yeah, maybe improve this, but like you're literally bricking your deck by putting this back in. Like draw 2 is crazy. This card could say draw 3 and it would see 0 play.
Yeah, yeah. Like the card is bad, and then to make it worse, they're like, "Hey, take it back." Like,
Yeah.
you thought you could use this once? No, do it again, buddy.
Like it might have been
Awful.
cool if they said like draw 4. Maybe you consider it because
Yeah.
Community Center is a bad stadium. Like if they're asking you to put that in your deck to play this, so I don't know. This just seems like filler, waste of space.
Maybe if it was like an A spec, it'd be kind of cool, like an A spec item. Like draw 2, shuffle it back, you just keep
Yeah,
the
and,
community
like,
center in
infinite.
play, and you can just kind of loop it.
That'd be kind of cool, actually. Yeah, if it was an item, 100%, it might see play. It's actually really funny how like draw 2 on an item is like so broken, and supporter it's just like horrible.
Pot of greed, baby.
Yeah. All right, another reprint. We have the Lucky Helmet. So if this Pokemon is in the active spot, damaged by attack, you draw 2 cards. Actually, let's start with you, Neil. What do you think about this card?
I'm more of a Rocky Helmet guy,
More of a
but
Rocky
like
Helmet guy.
I'm a Rocky Helmet guy. Lucky Helmet is I think there's definitely applications for it, just like there was with like Gift Energy and like all that stuff. I forget what the other one was. Lucky Energy.
Yep.
I think there's definitely like applications to this card. I think it's like game breaking for anything? Not really. And I think with the introduction of A-Specs and the introduction of all these like powerful tools, I think Lost Vacuum is going to see like quite an uptick. So I mean, like you're basically banking on your opponent not playing Vacuum. So
Yeah.
I don't love it, but I do think it might have an application here or there, maybe install or something.
To me, like where I could see this card being played is like it's good against protecting against Iono. So like maybe late in the game, like you're a deck that doesn't have a draw engine, like you don't play Beverl or something. Is like you slap this on your attacker, you get Iono to 1 or 2, you get an extra 2 draws. So if you play like Arvin or you play like Town Store in your deck, like a way to actually find this when you need it, then maybe it makes sense. But overall, it just seems very low power level compared to other tools.
And I'm not
could be
sure
playing.
you can like I'm not even sure you can function as a non-Iona proof deck anymore. Like
Yeah.
especially with what we're about to get into with this new A-Spec. Like, I don't think you can do that anymore.
Yeah, so yeah, let's talk about the new Ace Spec, Aneil, the unfair stamp. If one of your
Yes.
Pokemon is knocked out during your last turn, both players shuffle their hands in their deck. You draw 5, your opponent draws 2. So Aneil, this is, I think when we were talking about Prime Catcher, we're like the only way you don't play Prime Catcher is if there's something like more absurdly broken. So let's start there, Aneil. Like, how broken is this card? How good do you think it is?
We knew it was coming. We knew something crazy was coming. I didn't think it was going to be this. This seems really good. I don't think I'm gonna overreact to the level that a lot of other people are, in the sense of people saying like, "Yo, this ruins the game." Like it's just part of the game, and I do think Pokemon has gotten to that point, like I said earlier, where they're like, "I'm bored. Let's just like print the hell out of crazy cards and see what happens." Like your welders, your ADPs of the world. It definitely feels like we're heading into that kind of realm. But I don't know, man. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. If we really think it's that good, there's people calling for the card to get banned. Like, all right, let's take a breath here, guys. I think we're gonna be all right. Is the card good? Yes. Do we already have Iono? Also, yes. Like, is everything gonna be Iono proof already because of Iono? Yes. So like, I mean, everything's playing Beebs. I don't think it's gonna matter as much as we think.
Yeah, so I think here's why I'm on this card. It's like it's most important early in the game. Like imagine you play this after your opponent takes their first knockout.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy.
crippling. Like before you have a chance to set up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know I've listened to a lot of people and their response is like, oh, just like don't take a knockout if you're not ready for like the unfair stamp. But it's like if you've played Pokemon, you know how important like prize mapping is and like trading is. Like sometimes you can't afford to just not take a knockout. Like your opponent's just gonna like win the trade if you don't. And this is like my problem, like not just with this card, but like with a lot of the ace specs, like I've seen them print, is ace specs inherently are inconsistent cards. Like you can only play one copy. The only way to pull them out of your deck is to play like Irida or like play like Avery, something like that. So a card like the Reset Stamp is like it's super high variance. Like if I just draw this when I need it, like it's like super powerful. Like if your opponent like let's say plays Unfair Stamp and like they don't play a consistent way to get it, like I think it's correct to just attack into it. Like you can't just like be like, hey, like they might have Unfair Stamp. Like
Hmm.
I think it just adds a little bit too much variance to the game. Like when you draw this, um, it doesn't feel that necessary to me. Like I would have preferred just to see a Reset Stamp print. This just seems like it has the power to like have too much variance, and it's not like a fair card to play around because like I'm saying, it's like you can't just like search it out easily. So if someone's playing this in their deck, like, and they just randomly have it, like that's just unlucky. But I think decks
Yeah.
that play Arvin or like play probably not Chen Pao because they need the Prime Catcher, but like Charizard could play this because they have a way to search it. And the draw five part's actually good. Like it's basically a Shauna. Like it's a decent like draw support as well. So if you do have to Arvin for this, for example, like you're not completely like wasting your supporter. Like you're getting to draw new cards as well. So the card seems very strong to me. I'm a little worried that there's some broken control combo that eventually is going to happen, but
Yeah.
yeah, the card definitely for
I
me is
think
good.
so. Like, I think you're right. Like, I think it adds a lot of variance to the game. I would have rather just seen computer search or like dowsing machine or something for sure. But like the other thing is too, like my issue with this card is that you can kind of like just get bricked out of the game after turn one or turn
Yeah,
two, and like that's already an issue. But the one thing I will say that's a counterpoint to that is that we do think the format's slowing down. So if you get bricked out of an unfair stamp, you take a turn or two, like maybe the game's not as over as it would have been in the current format. So maybe that's like a bonus to this whole thing. And like there are ways to kind of get out of it. Like you can draw, I don't know, you can draw your beebs, you can draw like even like friendship poffin to keep setting up as you're trying to draw out of it. Like I think there are ways to kind of slow down the game now. This is probably not a healthy card. As much as I am defending it, it's definitely not a healthy card, and like I don't like the card, but I don't think it's as bad as what people are making it.
yeah. I think it's gonna be one of those cards that feels bad to play against. Like it's gonna suck where you
Mm.
get like reset stamp or unfair stamps and like you lose. It feels unfair, like the card says.
It does. It does.
So yeah, I think the other thing, just in general, that I think I've commented this before, it's like I just feel like the power level they've given the ace specs is like way too high. Like I don't like I get like it's like a once per game effect, like it needs to be powerful, but like I don't think they need to be as good as they are. Like I think like the deck specific ones they make, like those are cool. Like the Drum of Awakening, like I forget what the name is for the Future Box one. Like to me, that's more where I'd like to see the ace specs, like give each archetype like it's a little bit more juice. That they can kind of control, build your strategy around. But like yeah, general ace specs to me, like for example, like the Neo Upper Energy, like to me like it's a bad card because the other ace specs are better. But like that's the power level of an ace spec like I would like to see. Like if you remember when we had like
Yeah.
Super Boost Prism Energy, like that was I thought a really well designed card. For anyone who didn't play back then, it was like it counted as 4 energy if you had 3 stage 2s in play. So again, like it's you build your deck around it type of card, and it's like not really super broken. Like you have to do something to get the payoff. It just feels like you don't have to do anything to get the payoff for a lot of these ace specs, and the power level of them is so high. You can only play one, so it's hard to get when you need it. So it's kind of just like random when you get to play your ace spec, but obviously it's very powerful when
Yeah.
you get it. So I don't know. I'm just not a fan of how they've implemented ace-specs back into the game.
I agree with you, and I think there's gonna be a lot of angry people saying, "Hey, I prized my prime catcher and I lost immediately." Like, I think just because it's a one of and just the way the prize mechanic works, it's just adding, like you said, more and more variance to the game. So, but this is what they want. I think this is actually what they want. Like, it seems like ever since the calendar turned, like it feels like for the most part they're catering to new players. They're catering to say like, "Hey, like you can just kind of join in the game and do well." And I think that's good. I think it's good to an extent. But I do think the game is getting very, very big at this point. And I think that more variance cards might end up not being a good thing when more seasoned players are getting frustrated, saying like, "I can't beat these people anymore." Like, you might lose seasoned players at the cost of gaining new players. Like, just out of as like a grand standpoint kind of view. I don't
Yeah,
know where it's going,
I
but we'll see.
mean, I think like there's still a lot of skill expression in the game, but like yeah, like cards like
Yeah.
this are the type of cards where it's like if you just brick someone, you can just win. It's like cards like for example like Marshadow. Like I think that's a lot of people's least favorite or one of their least favorite cards ever because like sometimes you would just lose the game because you're playing with like Marshadow, you turn one. For people who didn't play back then, it's like its ability was when you play it, both players shuffle their hand and draw four. So you could people going first could just play it. If you went second and draw a playable hand, like you would just lose on the spot. So
Yeah. It was so stupid.
yeah, just cards like that I don't really like. Like cards that like basically make it so you don't get a chance to play the game aren't fun. But like the cards like Iono, for example, like and Roxanne are very well designed, so you can play around them. Like you know they're coming. So I don't know. Just
Yeah, we'll
not crazy.
see. I mean, like we're big proponents of like don't overreact until it actually happens. So
Yeah.
we'll stick by our word here and not overreact. But we don't. We're not a fan so far. We'll say that much.
Hey, Master Ball did get included in the deck that won the Champions League, which is kind of
Yeah.
great. Everyone was trashing that card, so who knows?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like people overreact to these things. Like I understand. Like we're in a market where like if you overreact, you get clicks, whatever. You drive engagement. Like people doing that on Twitter, on YouTube, whatever. Like that's what drives the revenue. But like I feel like generally, like people just overreact like crazy to everything that comes out, and that's why like I've always been of the standpoint, and those who know me know this, where I don't test new format until it comes out. Like until I see some data. Like I don't really care about like these leaks and stuff because I know that like my initial reaction is probably going to be different to my reaction when it actually comes out. So I'm not saying it's useless, but I'm saying at least for me, like that's how I look at it. And I think that a lot of this hype, especially now, like in 2024, when like everything is driven through Twitter, everything's driven through YouTube, like people are just looking for engagements a lot of the time.
Yeah, 100%. It is also just fun to react to the cards and like try and guess what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we just spent 25 minutes doing it ourselves. Like, I'm not going to trash it. Like, it is fun doing it. And I think people really appreciate, like, listening to other people's takes on what these cards are, just so you can kind of base an opinion on it yourself. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you never know what's going to happen until it happens. And, like, if Master Ball can win a 2,700 person event, maybe Unfair Sample will be as bad as we thought. We'll
yeah,
see.
exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Anil, I
Yeah.
think that's all the topics we wanted to cover today.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little shout out to our boys at Banana Games. They're doing a few cool events this week. Yeah, Ciaran's got the shirt on. They're doing a few cool events this week, and next week and the week after. They got some trivia nights and theme nights. If I went through and explained all of them, I'd be here all day because there's so many. But just go to their website. I believe it's bananagames.ca.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, just search up Banana Games, you'll find it. Yeah, go there, check out their events. Like they're different kind of themed events, not really like challenges or cups. Like more so like, hey, here's this cool format, come play. And like honestly, they're pretty fun. So definitely give it a shot. So thank you to them for sponsoring us as always. Other than that, we're chilling. We're big chilling. I'm sure we'll have some new cards for you guys next week. Maybe some more tournament results. Good luck in any of your league cups, your league challenges this weekend. I know there's a lot going on. Ciaran, I'll let you sign us off if you have anything cool to say. I don't have anything cool to say.
No, I don't have anything cool to say. I have a work meeting in 2 minutes, unfortunately.
Yo, that was crazy. I was just about to tell them about how I brought my Bucky's cup to a league cup, but I'll say that for next
No,
week. All right,
no, go,
do your work.
tell them about the Bucky's cup. That's important.
Bro, I don't know. I just like I looked in my bag and I had a Bucky's cup and I was at a league cup and I filled it with water and it was just the greatest thing I've ever done. And like there's no purpose to it, like for anybody else but me. But like just in that moment, I was one with Bucky's.
Nice. I still have this on my desk
The shot glass? You
Yeah.
should take a shot during your work meeting. I'm sure nothing will go wrong.
with the Bucky shot glass.
Bucky's shot glass. It's awesome. Well, everyone, thank you for being here. Let Ciaran go back to work. Unfortunately, he has a day job and it's gatekeeping us. So
Yep.
y'all be well. See you next week.
Later.
Peace.